Malik Jackson stumbles through the pitch-black night, boots sinking into the soggy earth of an abandoned barn 5 miles outside Redstone, Alabama. His hands tremble, still slick with Tasha's blood, her final words looping in his skull like a broken record. They won't stop. Her face, soft and fierce, flashes behind his eyes, her braid spilling over the muddy road where she took her last breath just hours ago. At 42, Malik's a man who thought he'd traded war for peace, a former Green Beret who spent 16 years training America's deadliest soldiers to stalk prey in jungles and deserts. For the last decade, he's poured that discipline into Redstone's Black District, mentoring kids with quick fists and quicker tempers, teaching them to build lives instead of burn them down. He grips a rusted pitchfork, steadying his breath, replaying the checkpoint in his mind. Tasha was driving them home from a late shift at the clinic where she nursed the town's forgotten. The deputies waved them down, flashlights blinding, voices sharp. He'd told her to stay calm, assuming it was just another harassment stop, a routine flex of power in a town where black skin drew suspicion like flies to spilled sugar. Then came the gunshot, a crack that split the night, and Tasha slumped. Against him, her chest blooming crimson. He'd lunged for her, not the cops, but they'd shouted threat, and cuffed him as she faded. Now, hiding in this rotting barn, he tries to piece it together. A mistake, he tells himself. A trigger-happy rookie. A bad night. His gut churns, rejecting the lie even as he clings to it. The barn door groans, splintering under a heavy kick, and Malik drops low behind a stack of moldy hay bales. Flashlights slice through the gloom, boots thudding on warped planks. 4 deputies burst in, radios crackling, guns drawn. "Malik Jackson, you're under arrest," one barks, a squat man with a buzz cut and a sneer. Malik recognizes him from the checkpoint, the one who'd laughed as Tasha bled out. No rookie mistake here. His pulse steadies, years of training snapping into place, but he doesn't move yet. They fan out, sweeping the space, their beams missing him by inches. "Come out, boy, or we drag you out," another growls, his voice thick with Alabama drawl, the kind that turns boy into a blade. Malik's fists tighten. He could take them, break their necks before they blink, but he needs answers, not bodies. The buzz-cut deputy steps closer, kicking over a rusty can, and Malik sees his chance. He stays still, letting them think he's gone until they lower their guns, muttering about wasting time. Then the radios squawk. "Bring him in alive if you can. Sheriff wants a word." They cuff the air with frustration and march out, leaving Malik alone in the dark, his mind racing. Alive if they can, that's no accident, that's a plan. He waits 30 minutes, counting seconds like a metronome, then slips out, sticking to the shadows of a dirt road. By dawn, he's holed up in a ditch near the county jail, watching deputies swarm like ants. They drag him inside later that morning, after a farmer spots him and calls it in. The cell's a concrete box, stinking of bleach and sweat. The walls, scrawled with names of men who didn't make it out. Malik sits on a cot, hands cuffed behind him, staring at the floor as Sheriff Harlan Voss strides in. Voss is a wiry man, 58, with a predator's grin and eyes like chipped flint. His uniform's crisp, badge gleaming, a walking billboard for law and order in Putnam County. "Malik Jackson," he drawls, leaning against the bars. "You're in deep now. Assaulting my boys, resisting arrest, and that little scene with your wife? Messy business." Malik's head snaps up, jaw tight. "Tasha didn't do anything. You know that." Voss chuckles, a dry, rattling sound. "Oh, I know what the report says. She pulled a knife, got belligerent. Sad story, but these things happen when folks don't cooperate." Malik lunges, stopped short by the cuffs, the chain rattling against the cot. "She was a nurse, not a thug. She didn't carry a knife." Voss shrugs, unfazed. "That's not what the evidence shows. Got a nice photo of it too, already hit the news. Folks around here don't take kindly to cop haters stirring trouble." Malik's stomach drops. A knife? Tasha wouldn't touch a blade outside the kitchen, let alone pull one on armed deputies. He pictures her at the clinic, stitching up kids with skinned knees, her hands steady and gentle. This is a lie, a bold one, and Voss knows he's got no way to fight it from here. The sheriff paces, boots clicking on the floor. "You're a problem, Jackson. Ex-military, all that community hero nonsense. People listen to you, and that's Dangerous when you're on the wrong side of the law. Malik glares, voice low. You killed her, why? Voss stops, tilts his head like he's sizing up a stray dog. Me? I was home sipping whiskey when my boys called it in. Just a shame. She didn't know her place. The words land like a punch, racist venom dripping from every syllable. Malik spent years swallowing slurs, turning the other cheek, but this cuts deeper. Tasha's dead, and this man's grinning about it. Voss leans in, breath sour with coffee. You'll get your day in court, maybe, if you behave. He turns to leave, tossing a final barb over his shoulder. Oh, and don't expect your little fan club to save you. They're crying for Tasha now, but they'll turn when they see the truth. Malik slumps back, mind spinning. He's been in tight spots before, pinned down by gunfire in Kandahar, outmanned in Fallujah. But this feels different. Back then, he had a team, a mission. Now, he's alone, caged, watching a lie take root. Tasha's face floats up again. Her smile from their last morning together, sipping coffee on their porch as the sun climbed over Redstone's pines. She'd teased him about his graying beard, called him an old man at 42. He'd laughed, promised her a quiet life. That promise is ash now, scattered on that muddy road. He's still reeling when the cell block door creaks open hours later. A janitor shuffles in, an older black man with a limp pushing a mop bucket. He doesn't look at Malik, just works the floor, slow and methodical. Malik watches, silent, until the man pauses near the bars. His voice is a whisper, barely audible, over the hum of flickering lights. Check the news, soldier. Ain't over yet. He slips a folded paper scrap through the bars and shuffles out, leaving Malik staring at the crumpled note in his lap. He unfolds it with cuffed hands, squinting in the dim light. It's a torn page from a local rag, the headline screaming, Redstone. Mourns nurse slain in checkpoint chaos. Below it a blurry photo, a knife small and cheap lying in the dirt near Tasha's body. Malik's heart stutters. It's not hers. He knows every inch of their home, their car. This is planted, a prop in Voss's play. The article spins a tale of a violent altercation, quoting deputies who swear Tasha lunged first. But the janitor's words echo, ain't over yet. Someone's watching, maybe fighting. Malik crumples the paper, hope flickering like a match in a storm. He's beaten the odds before, outsmarted enemies with bigger guns. If he can get out, he can prove this wrong, show Redstone who Tasha really was. He leans against the wall, plotting, when a TV blares from the guard station down the hall. A news anchor's voice cuts through the static, smooth and smug. Breaking update in the Redstone shooting. Exclusive video evidence of the suspect's wife attacking deputies. Sheriff Voss calls it a clear case of self-defense. Malik's blood runs cold. Video? There was no video, just chaos and gunfire. He'd been there, seen the deputies' hands shake as they cuffed him, no cameras rolling. This is a fabrication, a doctored lie to bury Tasha's name in mud. The screen flickers, and he catches a glimpse through the bars. Grainy footage of a woman in a jacket like Tasha's swinging at a deputy. It's not her, the height's wrong, the hair's off, but it's close enough to fool a town already itching to believe the worst. Malik's chest tightens, rage boiling up. They're not just killing her body, they're slaughtering her memory, turning the woman who bandaged their kids into a villain. He slams his fists against the cot, the sound swallowed by the concrete. Voss thinks he's won, that Malik's trapped, broken. But Malik's trained killers to slip through tighter nets than this. He stares at the bars, the lock, the routine of the guards filing past. They've taken his wife, his freedom, his peace. They won't take his fight. Not yet. Malik Jackson crouches in the rancid muck of Redstone's swamps, reeds slicing at his arms, as he watches the county jail's floodlights fade into the pre-dawn haze. His escape 30 minutes ago still buzzes in his veins, a clean break from staged prisoner transfer that went sideways for the deputies. It started simple. 2 guards, a van, a gravel road cutting through pine thickets. Malik had sat in the back, cuffed, head down, playing the defeated man they expected. The driver, a rookie with jittery hands, kept glancing in the rear view, while the second guard, a barrel-chested vet, barked at him to focus. Malik waited, counting breaths until the van slowed at a potholed turn. Then he moved swift as a panther. He looped the cuff chain around the vet's thick neck, yanking hard, silencing his shout into a gurgle. The rookie swerved, fumbling, for his gun. But Malik kicked the seat, slamming the kid's skull against the wheel. The van lurched, crashed into a ditch, and Malik was out, snapping the vet's wrist to grab the keys, unlocking himself before the sirens could catch up. Now knee-deep in swamp water, he's free. But freedom's a fragile thing when you're a black man, marked by a racist sheriff in a town like Redstone, Alabama. He treks west, sticking to the shadows of cypress trees, their gnarled roots snagging his boots. Tasha's face haunts him, her blood still crusted under his nails from that checkpoint nightmare 2 nights ago. He needs a strike, something to wake Redstone up, to show them Sheriff Harlan Voss isn't untouchable. By noon, he's perched, on a ridge overlooking Voss's squat brick house on the edge of town, a smug monument to small-town power, with its manicured lawn and flagpole snapping in the breeze. Malik spots a deputy's patrol car parked out front, the same buzz-cut punk from the barn raid, lounging with a cigarette. Perfect. He waits until dusk, when the deputy climbs in to roll out for his shift. Malik slips down, silent as a ghost, and rigs the gas tank with a makeshift incendiary from a lighter and a rag he'd snagged from the ditch. He retreats 50 yards, strikes a match, and tosses it. The car erupts, a fireball clawing at the sky, metal shrieking as it twists. Malik scrawls a note on a scrap of cardboard torn from an old box. For Tasha. He wedges it under a singed tire, then melts back into the pines, adrenaline pumping. Did Voss feel that heat? Will Redstone see the truth now? The blast echoes through town, a thunderclap that rattles windows and pulls folks onto their porches. By nightfall, Malik's watching from a storm drain as the Black District ignites, not with fire but with voices. Hundreds gather on cracked streets, fists raised, chanting Tasha's name like a war cry. Justice for Tasha! Justice for Tasha! Signs bob above the crowd, her face smiling from clinic flyers taped to cardboard. Malik's chest swells. He's struck a nerve, turned grief into a weapon. He slips through alleys, drawn to the noise, when a wiry figure steps from a doorway. Malik, right? The man's voice is low, cautious. He's maybe 30, with a grease-stained jacket and eyes that dart like a hunted deer. Name's Jamal. Fixed cars over on 5th. Heard you're the one who lit up Voss's boy. Malik tenses, ready to bolt, but Jamal raises empty hands. Ain't here to snitch. Been watching those bastards too long. Voss runs more than the law. Drugs. Cash, whole damn county's his piggy bank. Deputies move the product, keep us quiet. Malik's jaw tightens. Drugs. Tasha worked the clinic, saw the overdoses, the kids hooked on pills. Was that why? You got proof? He asks. Jamal nods. Seen 'em load crates at the mill. Ain't just talk. Malik's mind races. This is bigger than a checkpoint. He's got a spark now, a thread to pull. Can he unravel Voss's empire before they bury him? The crowd swells, spilling into the town square, their shouts bouncing off the courthouse's peeling paint. Malik feels a flicker of triumph. He's not just a fugitive. He's a match in a powder keg. News vans roll in, cameras flashing, reporters scrambling for sound bites. He thinks he's turned the tide, that Voss's lie about Tasha pulling a knife might crack under this heat. Then sirens wail, a chorus of menace cutting through the chants. Deputies pour from armored vans, batons swinging, gas masks glinting under streetlights. They don't ask questions, don't warn. They charge the protesters, boots stomping, clubs cracking against skulls. A teenage girl, maybe 16, crumples as a deputy slams her face into the pavement, blood pooling under her braids. An old man with a cane swings it feebly only to catch a fist to his jaw, teeth scattering like dice. Malik's stomach lurches. This is his fault, his spark turned to ash. He spots Jamal in the chaos, dodging a baton, then vanishing as tear gas blooms, a choking fog swallowing the crowd. Screams replace chants, bodies litter the asphalt. Malik grips a brick wall, knuckles whitening. He wanted justice, not this. How many will pay for his strike? Voss's voice booms over a megaphone, cold and commanding. Disperse now or you're all under arrest for rioting. This is what happens when you back a murderer. The lie lands like a bomb. Rioting? These were mourners, not mobs, until Voss's men swung first. Malik watches helpless as deputies cuff sobbing kids, drag them to vans, their wrists zip-tied tight enough to bruise. A news chopper circles overhead, its spotlight catching the carnage. A mother shielding her son, a boy no older than 10, as a deputy rips him away, slamming him against a squad car. The reporter's voice crackles through a radio nearby. Chaos in Redstone tonight as protests turn violent. Sheriff Voss claims this is retaliation for a deputy's car bombing, linked to fugitive Malik Jackson. Malik's breath catches. Retaliation? Voss flipped it, made the victims the villains. He sees a deputy plant a Molotov cocktail near a toppled sign, snapping photos for evidence. This isn't justice, it's war, and Voss just raised the stakes. Malik slinks back to the swamp, mud sucking at his boots, replaying the raid. He'd hit Voss where it hurt, thought he'd won a round. But Voss didn't flinch. He doubled down, turned a grieving crowd into a bloodbath. Jamal's words gnaw at him. Drugs, crates, the mill. If Voss runs a ring, Tasha's death wasn't random. She'd seen something, maybe confronted it. Malik's mind clicks like a loaded clip. He's got a target now, a thread to chase. But the cost? That girl's blood on the pavement, the old man's broken teeth. He started this fire. And Voss fanned it into an inferno. What's next when a sheriff turns a town into a battlefield? If you're raging at Voss's brutality, drop a number 1 in the comments. Think Malik's strike was worth it, or did it cost too much? Smash that like button if you're rooting for his fight, and subscribe because tomorrow's twist will flip everything you thought you knew. What will Malik do when the town he loves bleeds for his revenge? Malik Jackson slips through Redstone's back alleys, the swamp's damp chill still clinging to his clothes, as dawn paints the sky a bruised purple. The echoes of last night's protest-turned bloodbath throb in his skull. The image of that teenage girl's face smashed into asphalt looping like a nightmare he can't shake. He'd torched the deputy's car, left his mark for Tasha, and thought it'd wake the town up. Instead, Sheriff Harlan Voss turned mourning into mayhem, proving his grip on Redstone's throat is tighter than Malik ever guessed. Now hiding in the shadow of a crumbling warehouse, he checks his burner phone, stolen from a gas station trash bin hours ago. Texts from his sister, Keisha, flood the screen, sent before the raid. Malik, where you at? Folks marching for Tasha. Stay safe. His chest tightens. Keisha's 38, a single mum with a 4-year-old son, Jaden, living in a shotgun house on the east side. She's the only family he's got left since Tasha bled out on that muddy road 4 nights back. He'd told her to stay low, keep Jaden inside, but the protest must have pulled her out. Did she march too? Is she okay? He dials her number, heart hammering, but it goes straight to voicemail, her bright voice promising to call back. Too late. Now he's still crouched, plotting his next move, when a pickup rumbles past, its radio blaring news. Redstone General reports multiple casualties from last night's riots. Sheriff Voss vows to hunt down fugitive Malik Jackson, blamed for inciting violence. Malik's fists clench. Casualties? Those were peaceful folks until Voss's deputies swung batons like they were cracking piñatas. He needs to check on Keisha, make sure she's not one of those casualties. He treks 2 miles through overgrown lots, sticking to cover, until he reaches her street. The sight stops him cold. Her house, a tidy yellow box with Jaden's tricycle out front, looks like a war zone. Windows shattered, door kicked in, glass crunching under his boots as he steps closer. Inside, furniture's flipped, cushions slashed, Jaden's crayons scattered like confetti across the floor. Blood stains the rug, a smeared trail leading to the kitchen. Malik's breath catches, dread clawing up his spine. "Keisha," he calls, voice hoarse. No answer. He finds her phone smashed on the counter, next to a note scrawled in black marker. "Harboring a fugitive, next time worse." His knees buckle. They got her. Voss's men hit her because of him, because he dared to strike back. He sprints to Redstone General, a squat brick hospital 3 blocks away, slipping past cops guarding the ER entrance. The waiting room's a chaos of sobs and antiseptic stink. Families huddled, some bandaged, some staring blankly at the walls. He spots a nurse he knows, Ms. Clara, A grey-haired woman Tasha worked with at the clinic. She's scribbling charts, her face etched with exhaustion. "Clara," he whispers, ducking behind a vending machine as a deputy strolls by. She startles, then softens when she sees him. "Malik, Lord help you, what are you doing here?" He grips her arm, voice low. "Keisha, is she here?" Clara's eyes drop and his gut twists. "They brought her in an hour ago, beaten bad. Jaden too, broken arm, concussion. Deputies said they resisted a search. She's in ICU, sedated." Malik's vision blurs, rage and guilt crashing like waves. Beaten bad? Jaden's 4, barely tall enough to reach the sink. This isn't law, it's vengeance, racist and raw, aimed at him through the only people he's got left. Clara squeezes his hand. "Get out of sight, son. They're watching for you." He nods, slipping out, but the weight of Keisha's bloodied rug presses on his chest. His strike cost too much. Malik retreats to a gas station on the edge of town, a grimy outpost with flickering neon and a single pump. He needs answers, a thread to pull Voss down harder. The deputy from the checkpoint, the buzz-cut punk who laughed, as Tasha died, pulls in at dusk, filling his cruiser with a smug swagger. Malik waits, crouched behind a dumpster, until the guy heads inside for a coffee. He moves fast, silent, pinning the deputy against the bathroom wall, forearm crushing his windpipe. The punk's eyes bulge, coffee spilling down his uniform. "Talk," Malik growls, "or I snap your neck like a twig." The deputy chokes out, Okay, it was Voss's call. His son Bryce was pushing pills at your wife's clinic. She caught him, threatened to report it. Voss said shut her up. Wasn't supposed to kill her, just scare her, but it went wrong." Malik's blood boils. "Tasha, dead over some rich kid's drug hustle?" He shoves harder. "Who pulled the trigger?" The deputy wheezes. "Me, I panicked. She yelled, I shot." Malik records it on the burner, every word, then slams the punk's head into the sink, leaving him slumped, alive but out cold. He uploads the confession to a protest group's page from a library Wi-Fi hotspot 2 miles away. It's live in minutes, racking up views like wildfire. Did he just break Voss's armor? By midnight, the confession's trending, a raw howl of truth cutting through Voss's lies. "Sheriff's deputy admits to murder," the caption reads, shared by thousands. Malik watches from a rooftop, the town square glowing with phone screens as folks huddle, replaying the clip. "Tasha Jackson was targeted," the deputy's voice stammers, tinny but clear. "Voss ordered it." Malik's lips twitch, a ghost of a smile. He's hit them where it hurts, exposed the rot. News trucks roll in again, anchors stumbling. Over the scoop. He thinks he's turned the tide, that Redstone might finally see Tasha for the hero she was, not the thug Voss painted her as. Justice feels close, a whisper away. Then his burner buzzes, a text from an unknown number. "Tune to Channel 6. He finds a bar's TV through a cracked window, the screen flickering to life. Sheriff Voss stands at a podium flanked by deputies, his grin sharper than a switchblade. "We've got a witness," he drawls, proving Malik Jackson's behind this chaos. A shaky white woman steps up, mid-40s, hair teased high, clutching a mic like a lifeline. "I saw him," she stutters, eyes darting. "Malik Jackson. Planted drugs in that clinic himself. Sold them through his wife, set her up to take the fall. He's no hero, he's a dealer." The bar's patrons gasp, heads shaking, and Malik's stomach drops like a stone. "Planted drugs? Tasha set up. It's a lie so bold it's obscene, but Voss sells it with a preacher's calm." The screen cuts to footage, a grainy clip of a man in a hoodie, Malik's build, slipping a baggie into Tasha's clinic desk. It's fake, a stitch-up job, but good enough to fool a town already reeling from the riots. Voss leans in, voice dripping venom. "This fugitive's tearing Redstone apart. We'll stop him, protect our people." Malik's hands tremble, the phone slipping. His confession, his strike, all flipped into a noose around his neck. How did Voss spin this so fast? The square empties, the crowd's anger shifting. "Drug dealer," someone mutters, spitting on the ground. "Poor Tasha caught up with him." Malik's victory sours, acid in his throat. He'd forced the truth out, thought he'd won a round, but Voss didn't blink. He hit back harder, turned Malik's own sister's beating into a footnote. And now this. a fabricated tale that paints Tasha as a pawn in Malik's crime. The racism's blatant, a white sheriff framing a black man as the devil incarnate, and Redstone's swallowing it whole. Malik staggers back, the gas station's neon buzzing like a hornet's nest. Keisha's in ICU, Jaden's broken, and now Tasha's memory's a punching bag. His strike sparked hope, but Voss drowned it in blood and lies. What's left when the town you fought for turns its back? Malik Jackson crouches in the shadow of a rusted water tower on Redstone's outskirts, the town's skyline smudged against a dawn streaked with orange. 5 nights since Tasha's blood soaked that muddy road, and the weight of yesterday's chaos presses on his ribs like a vice. Keisha's beaten body in ICU, Jaden's tiny arm in a cast, Voss's fake witness turning his confession into a lie. It's a storm he can't outrun. But the square's alive again, louder than before. Protests swell, spilling from the east side's cracked streets to the courthouse steps, a sea of voices roaring Tasha's name. Malik watches through binoculars, stolen from a hunting store he'd slipped into at midnight. Hundreds march, maybe thousands, their signs jagged with fury. Justice for Tasha, arrest Voss now. A teenage boy, skinny with a faded hoodie, climbs a lamppost, waving a clinic photo of Tasha stitching his knee last summer. Malik's throat catches. She'd patched up half this town, and now they're fighting for her. His burner phone pings, the confession video's views hitting 6 figures, shared across state lines. Did he finally crack the dam? News vans clog the streets, reporters shouting over the chants. A judge's voice cuts through a radio Malik scavenged from a dumpster. Bryce Voss will be questioned under oath regarding allegations of drug trafficking at Redstone Clinic. Malik's pulse quickens. Bryce, Voss's spoiled son, the punk Tasha caught selling pills. The deputy's bathroom confession tied him to her death, and now the law's circling. Malik grins, a rare flicker of light in this hell. Voss can't bury this, the tide's turning. He needs to hit harder, keep the pressure on. He treks to a Voss-owned stash house Jamal tipped him about, a squat concrete box on the industrial fringe, guarded by 2 deputies dozing in a cruiser out front. Malik's trained for this, slipping past their snores like a wraith. Inside, crates stacked to the ceiling, reeking of chemicals. Cocaine, $30 million worth, piled like dirty snow. He rigs a timer with wire and a gas can from the shed, then lights the fuse. The blast rips through the night, flames clawing skyward, a beacon of defiance. Malik watches from a ridge, the heat kissing his face. Did he just burn Voss's empire to ash? Sirens wail as fire trucks race in, too late to save anything but charred rubble. Malik's chest swells. He's crippled them, taken their money, their power. He's winning. The burner buzzes again, an unknown number texting, "Old Mill. Evidence. Now." He hesitates, but the protests, the judge, the fire, they're all pushing him forward. He hikes 3 miles through pine thickets, the mill looming like a skeleton against the moon, its windows shattered, walls tagged with faded gang signs. Inside, dust chokes the air, but he finds a metal box under a broken stair, just as the text promised. Photos spill out. Tasha's clinic, night shots of Bryce prying open her desk, stuffing baggies inside. A note in her handwriting. "Caught. BV planting drugs. Told him I'd report it." Malik's hands shake. Proof she was clean that Voss framed her to cover his son's tracks. He snaps pics with the burner, uploads them to every protest page he can find. They hit the web at sunrise, captioned, "Tasha Jackson, murdered for the truth." Views explode, comments flooding. "Voss is done. Justice now." Malik's heart pounds. Is this the knockout blow? By noon, Redstone's a furnace of rage. Crowds choke the streets, fists pumping, voices roar. News choppers buzz overhead, anchors tripping over updates. Shocking evidence implicates Sheriff Voss in a cover-up. Calls for his resignation grow. Malik watches from a boarded-up storefront, the glass cool against his forehead. The photos, the confession, the fire, they're a triple punch, and Voss is reeling. He imagines Tasha smiling, her braids swinging. As she nods approval, justice feels close, tangible, like he could reach out and grab it. He's turned the town against its tyrant, exposed the racism festering under Voss's badge. Maybe Keisha and Jaden can heal now. Maybe Redstone can breathe. He's winning, really winning. Then his burner vibrates, a video link from an anonymous sender. His gut twists. Something's off. He clicks it, and the world tilts. Channel 6 fills the screen, live from Redstone General. Deputies swarm the hospital's front doors, rifles gleaming, faces masked behind riot gear. The anchor's voice shakes. Breaking news. A hostage situation unfolds at Redstone General. Sheriff Voss claims fugitive Malik Jackson's supporters have seized the facility. Malik blinks, confusion spiking. Supporters. He's got no crew, no plan for this. The camera pans to a window, where Keisha staggers into view, her hospital gown bloodied, a deputy's arm locked around her throat. She's pale, eyes wide with terror, Jaden clutched in her arms, his cast dangling limp. A megaphone blares, "Malik Jackson, surrender, or your sister pays." The feed cuts to Voss standing tall outside, his grin a jagged scar. "We've got a confession," he says, holding up a phone. Keisha's voice crackles through, broken, sobbing. "Malik made me help him. The bomb, the drugs, all his idea. Please stop him." Malik's knees buckle, the phone slipping to the concrete. "Keisha, a confession. It's a lie, forced, her words slurred like she's drugged." He knows her, knows she'd never turn, not after what they did to her and Jaden. Voss staged this, snatched her from ICU, beat a script into her. The crowd's chants falter, faces turning to screens, whispers rippling. Keisha said it? Malik's own sister? The anchor piles on. Sheriff Voss alleges this is proof Jackson orchestrated the violence plaguing Redstone, including last night's stash house fire. Malik's breath soars out, ragged and hot. He burned 30 million to hurt Voss, leaked. Proof to free Tasha's name, and now this. Keisha, hostage, parroting lies to a town ready to believe the worst about a black man. The racism suffocating. Voss twisting every move into a noose. How did he lose this fast? Protesters scatter, some clutching signs, others dropping them like dead weight. News flashes a still of Keisha's confession, her bruised face, a punch to Malik's gut. He'd thought the evidence, the fire, the judge's order, they were his victory, a hammer smashing Voss's throne. But Voss didn't flinch. He struck back, harder, uglier, dragging Keisha into the crosshairs. Malik's hands tremble, the mill's dust stinging his eyes. He's a soldier, trained to win wars, but this battlefield's rigged, every step a trap. Tasha's dead, Keisha's captive, and Redstone's turning on him again. What's left when your win becomes their weapon? If Voss's racist setup makes your blood boil, drop a #1 in the comments. Do you think Malik should have seen this coming, or is the system too twisted to predict? Hit that like button if you're still in his corner, and subscribe, because tomorrow's episode will rip the stakes wide open. Can Malik save Keisha when the town's against him? Malik Jackson sprints through Redstone's pine-choked outskirts, the mill's dust still gritty in his throat as dusk bleeds into night. 6 days since Tasha's murder, and yesterday's illusion of victory lies in tatters. The stash house. Fire. The leaked photos proving her innocence, the judge's order to question Bryce Voss, all turned to ash when Sheriff Harlan Voss aired Keisha's forced confession from the hospital, painting Malik as a mastermind of chaos. Keisha's bruised face, Jaden's terrified sobs, they claw at him, a fresh wound beside Tasha's death. He knows Voss staged it, snatched her from ICU to break him, but knowing doesn't stop the guilt. He's got to get her out. The burner. Phone's last message, rural bunker North County line, came from a protester's tip before it died. Malik treks 10 miles, boots sinking into clay, guided by a map scratched into his memory from Green Beret days. The bunker's a concrete slab half buried in a hillside, ringed by scrub and a rusted fence. 2 deputies guard it, rifles slung. Low chatting about last night's football scores like this is a casual shift. Malik's trained for worse odds than this. He circles wide, belly crawling through brambles until he's behind them. The first deputy, a lanky kid with a patchy beard, leans against the fence, yawning. Malik strikes, a shadow in the gloom, locking. His arm around the kid's throat, squeezing until he slumps, silent and limp. The second, thicker, with a buzz cut like the checkpoint punk, spins at the noise, fumbling his rifle. Malik's on him before the barrel lifts, driving a knee into his gut, then a chop to the throat. The man gags, collapses, out cold. Malik drags them inside the fence, zip-tying their wrists with strips torn from their own belts. He picks the bunker's lock with a bent wire from the kid's pocket, the click loud in the still air. Inside, the air's dank, smelling of mold and fear. Keisha's there, slumped in a corner, wrists raw from cuffs, Jaden curled against her, his cast smeared with dirt. Her eyes flutter open, glassy with pain, and she rasps, "Malik!" He kneels, cutting her free with the buzzcut's knife, his hands steady despite the tremor in his chest. "I got you," he whispers, lifting Jaden gently. Keisha staggers, up leaning on him, her voice breaking. "They'll never stop. They beat me till I said it drugged me, Jaden too." Malik's jaw locks. Drugged a 4-year-old? This isn't justice. It's a lynching with badges. He leads them out, scanning the dark. Backup's coming. He hears distant engines growling closer. They slip through a ditch, Keisha limping, Jaden whimpering in his arms. Malik's mind races, plotting escape routes he's run in training drills a lifetime ago. They reach a dry creek bed 2 miles out, hiding under an overhang as headlights sweep the hill. The engines fade and Malik exhales. He's done it, pulled them from Voss's claws. Keisha grips his arm, tears cutting tracks through the grime on her face. "You shouldn't have come. They'll kill you now." He shakes his head. "Not while you're breathing." She's safe, Jaden's safe, and that's enough for tonight. He finds a signal on the burner, checks the news. A viral petitions hit the web, 50,000 signatures demanding Voss's arrest, spurred by the stash fire and Tasha's photos. "Sheriff's a murderer," the top comment reads. Malik's lips twitch. Justice isn't dead yet. He's outsmarted them, turned their hostage play into fuel for the fight. Can he keep this momentum? Dawn breaks, grey and heavy, as Malik moves. Keisha and Jaden to a safe house, an old hunting shack Jamal's cousin owns, tucked in a hollow 15 miles from Redstone. He leaves them with water and a loaded pistol from the bunker guards, promising to return. Back in town, he watches from a rooftop as the petition climbs, news anchors stammering updates. Pressure mounts on Sheriff Voss as public outrage grows. Malik's chest swells. He's winning again, clawing back ground. He's got Keisha out, the town's roaring, Voss's grip slipping. Then a blast shatters the morning, a deep boom that shakes the rooftop under his feet. Smoke spirals from the east side, black and thick, curling over the pines. Malik's binoculars snap up, focusing on the source. Redstone's black church, a clapboard sanctuary where Tasha sang hymns every Sunday. Flames lick its walls, windows exploding outward, screams piercing the air. His stomach drops. A stone, plummeting through him. The church, he coached kids there, taught them to box, to dream. Now it's a pyre. Sirens wail, fire trucks weaving through panicked streets, but the damage is done. Malik scrambles down, racing closer, staying in alleys as news choppers circle. The reporter's voice crackles from a bystander's radio. Tragic explosion at Eastside Baptist Church. 12 dead, including children, in what Sheriff Voss calls a revenge attack by fugitive Malik Jackson. 12 dead. Malik's knees buckle, bile rising. He sees faces in his mind. Little Dion, 8, with a gap-toothed grin, sparring in the basement. Marla, 10, who'd hugged Tasha every service. Gone, burned alive. Voss steps into a live feed, his face grim but his eyes glinting. "This is what happens when you let a killer run free. Jackson bombed my deputy's car, now this. We'll bury him for it." Malik's fists slam a brick wall, skin splitting. Bomb? He's no bomber, not like this. He torched a stash house, not a church full of kids. Voss did this, turned his fight into a slaughter. Crowds gather, not chanting now but weeping, clutching each other as ash rains down. Malik spots Jamal in the chaos, his grease-stained jacket singed, dragging a sobbing woman from the wreckage. "Malik," Jamal hisses, spotting him in the alley. "They're saying you wired it, planted a gas leak, set it off." Malik's voice cracks. "I didn't, you know I didn't." Jamal nods, eyes hard. "Yeah, but they don't. Voss's men were here before it blew, checking for threats. Planted it. Bet my life." Malik's mind spins. Voss sacrificed kids, black kids, to frame him. The racism's a sledgehammer, smashing everything he's built, everything Tasha loved. News flashes a list. 12 names, ages 5 to 60, all East Side folks. Dion's there, Marla too. Malik's hope crumbles, dust in his mouth. He'd saved Keisha, thought he'd turned the tide, but Voss didn't blink. He burned a church, murdered innocents, and pinned it on Malik with a lie so vile it sticks. The town shifts, whispers turning to shouts. Jackson's a monster. A man yells, hurling a bottle at a squad car. Killed our kids! A woman sobs, clutching a scorched teddy bear. Malik retreats, legs heavy, the safe house his only anchor. He'd outsmarted Voss at the bunker, pulled Keisha from the fire. But this? 12 dead, a church in ruins, and Redstone's hate aimed at him. Voss didn't just hit back. He rewrote the war, made Malik the devil in a town that once cheered him. Keisha's words echo. They'll never stop. She's right. This isn't a fight he can win with fists or fire. It's a machine grinding him down, spitting out bodies to keep him buried. What's left when your victory costs 12 graves? Malik Jackson huddles in a rotting shed on Redstone's northern fringe, the air thick with mildew and the faint tang of gasoline from a leaking can in the corner. 7 nights since Tasha's blood stained that muddy road, and yesterday's. Church bombing still burns behind his eyes. 12 lives snuffed out in a fireball, Sheriff Harlan Voss pinned on him. Keisha and Jaden are safe in a shack 15 miles away, but the town's grief is a noose tightening around his neck. He's a ghost now, hunted by a system that's turned his fight for justice into a massacre. Rain drums the tin roof, a relentless tattoo, when a shadow shifts outside. Malik's hand snaps to the pistol he took from the bunker guards. His Green Beret instincts kicking in. The door creaks and a folded note slides under, ink bleeding in the wet. Cypher knows the truth. Meet at the quarry midnight. He stares at it, pulse thudding. Cypher? A trap? A lifeline? He's got no allies. Left, not after Voss torched the church and framed him as a child killer. But he's got nothing to lose either. He tucks the note into his pocket and heads out, the storm masking his steps. The quarry's a jagged scar in the earth, 10 miles west, its cliffs looming black against a sky split by lightning. Malik arrives at midnight, rain plastering his clothes, and finds a figure waiting under a tarp strung between pines. She's tall, late 30s, with a shaved head and a leather jacket patched at the elbows. Her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, size him up. Malik Jackson, she says, voice low and clipped. I'm Raven. Ex-CIA cyber ops Cypher sent me. Malik keeps the pistol low, finger off the trigger. Cypher? Who's that? Raven steps closer, rain beading on her skin. A shadow, like you. Been tracking Voss for years. He's not just a crooked sheriff. He and his son Bryce answer to Leland Drake, state senator. Drugs, weapons, cash, they're Drake's muscle in Redstone. Malik's gut twists. A senator. Tasha died for a bigger game than he knew. Proof? He asks. Raven pulls a tablet. From her bag, swipes up grainy footage. Voss and Drake in a warehouse, crates of rifles stacked high, cash-changing hands. This is why Tasha got hit, Raven says. She saw Bryce's pills, threatened to blow it open. Drake greenlit the kill. Malik's fists clench, the puzzle snapping into place. Can he trust this stranger to bury them all? Raven's intel lights a fuse in him. He needs to hit Drake, expose the head of this snake. She points him to a Drake-owned dock on Lake Putnam, 20 miles north, where a weapons shipment's due tonight. Malik moves fast, hitching a ride in a trucker's ED rig to the lake's edge, then slipping through reeds to the dock. It's a concrete pier jutting into the water, lit by floodlights, 6 guards pacing with AR-15s. Crates line the shore, stamped with military codes he recognizes from his Green Beret days. He rigs explosives from fertilizer and diesel he finds. In a shed, planting them under the pier's supports. The guards laugh about cleaning up Redstone's trash, their slurs cutting through the rain. Malik triggers the blast, and the dock erupts, a geyser of flame and splintered wood sinking the shipment into the lake's depths. He films it on Raven's burner, the footage shaky but clear. Guns sinking, guards scrambling, Drake's empire bleeding. He uploads it from a diner's Wi-Fi 10 miles away, tagging every news outlet he can. Did he just crack the conspiracy wide open? By dawn, the video's a wildfire online. Drake's dirty deal, trending nationwide. Malik watches from a gas station TV, the screen showing choppers over the lake, anchors stammering, Senator Leland Drake linked to illegal arms in Redstone explosion. Protesters flood Montgomery, Drake's name on their signs next to Tasha's. Malik's chest swells. He's struck gold, turned Voss's boss into a target. Raven's tip was real, her footage the key. He's winning, peeling back the layers of this racist machine. The church's ashes still choke him, but this feels like a step toward justice, a blow Tasha'd cheer for. He imagines her voice, soft but fierce. Keep going, Malik. He's got the senator sweating now, Voss's puppet master on the ropes. Then sirens scream closer than they should be, and Malik bolts, ducking into a culvert as SWAT vans roar past. His burner buzzes, a text from Raven. Safe house hit. Get out. His stomach drops. Too late. He races back to Raven's hideout, a trailer tucked in a hollow 5 miles south, praying it's a bluff. The trailer's a smoldering wreck when he arrives, windows blown out, walls pocked with bullet holes. Raven sprawled in the dirt, blood pooling under her shaved head, her tablet shattered beside her. Malik kneels, checking her pulse, but she's gone, eyes staring blank at the sky. SWAT cordons the scene, radios crackling. Suspect Malik Jackson, armed and dangerous. Killed an informant. He spots a planted pistol near her body, his prints on it from when he'd handed it back to her at the quarry. Voss's voice cuts through a megaphone. We've got evidence Jackson's a cop killer now. Redstone's safe with him gone. Malik's breath hitches. Cop killer? Raven was CIA, not a cop, but the lie's slick, tailored to bury him deeper. He slips into the woods as choppers buzz overhead, the manhunt doubling down. How did Voss find her so fast? News hits the airwaves by noon, the dock blast overshadowed. Fugitive Malik Jackson kills federal informant in brutal ambush. Malik listens from a storm drain, the radio's static mingling with his ragged breathing. The town's rage shifts, protesters faltering, voices on the street turning cold. He killed a woman helping him? Thought he was fighting for us. Malik's victory sours, the dock hit flipped into a noose. Voss didn't just counter, he gutted Malik's momentum, turned Raven's intel into a trap. The racism's a tidal wave, drowning him in lies. No one questions because he's black, ex-military, a perfect scapegoat. Drake's name fades from the headlines, Voss spinning the narrative back to Jackson's terror. Malik's hands shake, Raven's blood on his mind. She'd cracked. The conspiracy given him a weapon, and now she's dead. Her truth twisted into his guilt. What's left when your ally's corpse is your handcuffs? If you're stunned by Voss's ruthless play, drop a number 1 in the comments. Do you think Malik should have trusted Raven, or was she doomed from the start? Smash that like button if you're still rooting for his fight against this racist machine, and subscribe because tomorrow's chapter will twist the knife deeper. Can Malik claw back from a frame-up this deadly? Malik Jackson weaves through Redstone's shadowed backroads, the storm drain's damp chill seeping into his bones as dusk cloaks the pines in grey. 8 nights since Tasha's murder, and Raven's bloodied body from yesterday haunts him, her death a fresh scar beside the church bombing's 12 graves. Sheriff Harlan Voss framed him as a cop killer, flipping the dock raid's victory into a manhunt's fuel. Keisha and Jaden hide in a shack miles away, but Redstone's turning, swallowing Voss's lies whole. Malik's a phantom now, hunted by a town he once coached, and a system that paints him black and guilty. He needs a hit, something to rip Voss's mask off again. He heads for Rusty's Tap, a dive bar on the west side where deputies drink off shift, their tongues loose with whiskey. The bar's a sagging shack, neon buzzing over a gravel lot, cruisers parked sloppy. Malik slips in through a back door, past a kitchen reeking of grease and stale beer, and spots Bryce Voss's right-hand man, Deputy Tanner Cobb. Cobb's a wiry thug, 30, with a scar splitting his lip, slouched at a corner table nursing a bourbon. Malik's chance is here. He waits, blending into the bar's dim chaos, truckers and locals hollering over a jukebox spitting country riffs. Cobb stumbles to the john, glass in hand, and Malik follows, silent as a spectre. The bathroom's a grimy box, tiles cracked, sink dripping. Cobb sways at the urinal, muttering slurs about cleaning up East Side trash. Malik strikes, slamming Cobb's head into the wall, pinning him with a knee to the spine. The deputy grunts, bourbon splashing, and Malik jams the bunker pistol against his skull. "Talk," he growls, voice low and lethal. "Tasha's death. The truth. Now." Cobb squirms, breath sour. "Okay, man, ease off. It was a hit. Tasha caught Bryce moving pills at her clinic, said she'd snitch. Voss told us to shut her up, plant the drugs after. I drove the stop, but it went bad. She fought, we shot." Malik's blood ignites, Tasha's defiance flashing in his mind, her refusing to bow to their filth. He pulls the burner, records every word, Cobb's voice trembling but clear. "Who ordered it?" Malik presses. Voss straight from his desk. Bryce pushed, but Daddy called the shot. Malik shoves harder, then lets Cobb slump, dazed but breathing. Did he just get the silver bullet? He slips out, dodging a barmaid's. Glance and uploads the confession from a library Wi-Fi spot 3 blocks away, tagging protest pages and news feeds. It's live in minutes, racking up hits like a slot machine. Deputy confesses Tasha Jackson murdered on Voss's orders, the caption screams, shared by thousands. Malik watches from an alley, the square lighting up with phone screens as folks huddle, replaying Cobb's shaky voice. "Voss told us to shut her up," it echoes, raw and undeniable. News vans swarm, feds raid Voss's office by noon, black SUVs clogging the station lot. Anchors trip over updates. Federal agents seize evidence in Redstone Sheriff's corruption probe. Malik's chest swells, a jagged hope cutting through the grief. Cobb's words Raven's dock hit, they're piling up, cracking Voss's throne. He imagines Tasha nodding, her clinic smock crisp, proud he's fighting her war. The feds are. In Voss is cornered, justice clawing closer. Is this the end game he's bled for? Then dusk falls, and Malik's burner pings, a text from Keisha's safe house number. "They found us, help." His stomach plummets, legs already moving. He sprints 10 miles, cutting through fields, the shack's silhouette rising against a blood-red sunset. He's 50 yards out when a sniper's round tears through the silence, grazing Keisha's shoulder as she stumbles from the door. She falls, blood soaking her shirt, Jaden's wail piercing the air from inside. Malik dives for cover, rolling behind a stump as bullets chew the dirt. Voss's voice crackles over a radio nearby. Malik Jackson's manifesto just aired. He's vowed to burn Redstone to the ground. Malik freezes, confusion spiking. Manifesto? He's written nothing, said nothing. The safehouse TV flickers through a busted window, Channel 6 blaring. Breaking, fugitive Malik Jackson releases chilling threat. A distorted voice, not his, drones. "I'll torch this town, starting with the sheriff. No one's safe." Malik's gut twists. Fake, stitched from thin air, but it's his face on screen. A mugshot from his arrest, eyes hollow. Protesters falter, the square emptying as folks clutch phones, horror spreading. "He's lost it," a man mutters, kicking over a Justice for Tasha sign. "Threatening kids after the church," a woman sobs, clutching her scarf. Malik crawls to Keisha, dragging her behind the stump, her blood hot on his hands. "They shot me," she gasps, "came out of nowhere." Jaden's cries echo from the shack, but Malik can't move, pinned by sniper fire. The radio buzzes again. Jackson's terror campaign escalates, feds warn he's armed, unhinged. Malik's victory collapses, the confession's heat snuffed out. Voss didn't flinch, he struck back harder, uglier, turning Malik's own sister into bait, his fight into a terrorist's rant. The racism's a blade, slicing him open, Redstone, swallowing the lie because he's black, ex-military, a monster they're primed to fear. How did Voss flip this so fast? Keisha's breath rattles, shallow and sharp, as Malik rips his sleeve, binding her wound. "Stay with me," he whispers, but her eyes flutter, pain glazing them. The sniper's gone silent, but choppers buzz overhead, lights sweeping the field. Malik's mind races, piecing it. Voss staged this, shot Keisha to sell the manifesto, knew the feds' raid wouldn't stick without a bigger lie. Protesters scatter, their chants dying, replaced by sirens and shouts. Find him! Stop him! News flashes the manifesto again, the fake voice looping, "Burn Redstone." Malik's labeled a terrorist now, not a widower, not a brother. Cobb's confession, the feds, the square's rage, all drowned in Voss's flood of hate. He'd thought he'd won, cracked Voss's armor, but Voss turned the bar into a trap, Keisha into a pawn. What's left when your truth's a death sentence? Malik Jackson drags Keisha through the darkening field, her blood soaking his sleeve as Jaden's wails echo from the shack, 10 yards away. 9 nights since Tasha's murder, and yesterday's bar confession, the feds raiding Voss's office. All crumbled when a sniper grazed Keisha, and Sheriff Harlan Voss aired a fake manifesto branding Malik, a terrorist bent on burning Redstone. The chopper's lights sweep overhead, pinning them behind a stump, but Keisha's fading, her breath shallow, her shoulder wound seeping through the makeshift bandage. "Hang on," Malik whispers, pressing harder, his hands slick with her life. Jaden's cries cut deeper. A 4-year-old trapped in a war Malik started. Voss's voice loops in his head, that smug drawl on the news. He's unhinged, armed, a threat to us all. The lies winning, Redstone turning on him, swallowing. The racist bait because he's black, ex-military, easy to demonize. He can't fight like this, not with Keisha bleeding out, Jaden exposed. He needs a new play, something to shift the board. Surrender. The word tastes like ash, but it might buy time, force the truth out. Can he trust the feds to see through? Voss's game? He makes the call, dialing 911 from the burner, voice steady despite the tremor in his gut. "This is Malik Jackson. I'm at the old Miller shack, North County line. Keisha's shot needs a medic. I'm unarmed, turning myself in. Bring feds, not Voss's men." He drops the phone, cradling Keisha, Jaden stumbling out to cling to, his leg cast dangling. Sirens wail closer, then boots crunch gravel, FBI vests glinting under floodlights. "Hands up, Jackson!" An agent barks, rifle trained. Malik complies, slow and deliberate, Jaden sobbing against him. Medics rush Keisha, strapping her to a gurney, her eyes fluttering shut. The lead agent, a stocky woman with a buzz cut, cuffs Malik, her grip firm, but not cruel. "You're under arrest," she says. "But we've got your evidence, Cobb's confession, the clinic photos, we're digging." Malik nods, handing over the burner with every file he's got. Raven's dock footage, Cobb's words, Tasha's. Tote? Crowds gather at the road's edge, phones up, filming as Voss is cuffed outside the station on live TV, his face a mask of fury. Cheers erupt, faint but real. Did Malik just turn the tide? By dawn, Redstone buzzes, the square packed with folks chanting "Justice for Tasha." News anchors stammer updates. Sheriff Harlan Voss arrested on federal corruption charges linked to deputies' confession. Malik's unshackled in a holding room, the agent Ramirez briefing him. "We've got enough to bury Voss. Your surrender helped. You're free, pending review." Malik exhales, the cuff's weight gone, tasting freedom for the first time. In days. He steps outside, air cool against his skin, protesters clapping as he passes. "You did it, man!" a kid yells, waving Tasha's clinic flyer. Malik's chest swells. He's won, cracked Voss's empire, cleared Tasha's name. Keisha's stable, Jaden safe with a nurse. Justice feels solid, a brick he can hold. He imagines Tasha smiling, her braids swinging, proud he didn't break. Then his burner, returned by Ramirez, pings with an audio file. Anonymous sender. His gut twists. He knows that dread. He plays it and the ground shifts. The voice is distorted, mechanical, not his. "This is Malik Jackson. I bombed the church, 12 dead. My orders. Voss was just the start. Redstone burns next." Malik's knees buckle, the phone slipping. Bombing the church? It's a lie, a ghost from Voss's playbook, but sharper, deadlier. The square's cheers falter, heads turning to screens as Channel 6 blares, leaked audio, Malik Jackson. Confesses to church bombing, threatens more terror. Malik bolts to a TV in a shop window, the clip looping, his mugshot glaring back. Protesters freeze, signs dropping, whispers rippling. He did it? Killed our kids? Then chaos erupts, louder, uglier. Tires screech. and a black van slams through the crowd, masked men in tactical gear leaping out. Malik's tackled, a hood yanked over his head, wrists zip-tied as boots kick his ribs. "Got him!" a voice grunts, dragging him inside. The van peels out, screams fading behind. News shifts fast. Malik Jackson escapes custody in daring breakout, suspected mercenaries involved. Did Voss just steal his surrender? Redstone explodes, not with fire but fury. Malik's jolted awake in the van, hood off, a mercenary's rifle jabbing his chest. The radio crackles. Fugitive now linked to paramilitary group, church bombing confirmed. He's dumped in a warehouse, wrists raw, 3 men circling, their faces masked but their intent clear. "Boss says you're done," one growls, cracking knuckles. Malik's mind races. This isn't feds, it's Drake's hired guns, Senator Leland's muscle stepping in where Voss faltered. The audio's a plant, timed to hit when he walked. Free, flipping his win into a nightmare. Outside, Keisha's rushed to hiding, a nurse texting, "Vigilantes torched our block. We're gone." Malik's stomach churns. East Side homes blaze on the news. Black families fleeing as mobs hurl bricks, screaming "terrorist lover." The racism's a wildfire, Voss's lie igniting Redstone against itself. He'd surrendered to clear his name, thought the feds had his back. But Drake's mercenaries snatched him, staged an escape to bury him deeper. How did they turn freedom into a cage? The warehouse stinks of oil and rust. The mercenaries pacing, waiting orders. Malik's victory, Voss's cuffs. The crowd's cheers, all dust now. Keisha's text burns in his mind. Torched homes, her and Jaden on the run again. He'd handed over proof, trusted the system for once, and it spat him out. Drake's shadow looms larger than Voss's, a senator pulling strings to keep his empire intact. The audio's a masterstroke, tying Malik to the church, a crime so vile no one questions it. Protesters who cheered him now curse him, their faith in Tasha's fight drowned in hate. Malik's hands flex, testing the zip ties. He's a soldier, trained to break free, but this war's rigged, every move a trap. What's left when your surrender fuels their fire? If you're gutted by this racist twist, drop a number 1 in the comments. Did Malik play it wrong trusting the feds, or was he doomed either way? Slam that like button if you're still backing his fight against this corrupt beast, and subscribe because tomorrow's showdown will shred everything you expect. Can Malik escape Drake's grip when Redstone's turned to ashes? Malik Jackson lies bruised and bound in the warehouse's oily gloom, the zip ties cutting into his wrists as 3 mercenaries loom over him, their boots scuffing concrete. 10 nights since Tasha's murder and yesterday's false surrender still stings. His freedom snatched by Senator Leland. Drake's hired guns after a fake audio branded him the church bomber. Keisha's text about vigilantes torching East Side homes gnaws at him, her and Jaden on the run again. The mercenaries mutter about finishing the job, their rifles glinting under a flickering bulb. Malik's Green Beret training kicks in, eyes scanning, a rusted nail jutting from a crate, a loose pipe overhead. He twists, snagging the nail, sawing the ties until they snap. The biggest thug, a slab of muscle with a shaved head, turns at the sound, but Malik's faster, lunging to slam the pipe into his skull. The man drops, skull cracked, blood pooling. The second swings a rifle, but Malik rolls, snapping his neck with a brutal twist. The third fires, grazing Malik's arm, but he hurls the pipe, crushing the shooter's throat. 2 dead, 1 out, and Malik's free, panting in the dark. He grabs a knife from the big one's belt and bolts, slipping into a ditch outside as sirens wail in the distance. Did he just claw his way back? He treks 20 miles through pine thickets, blood dripping from his arm, the knife tucked in his waistband. Drake's mansion looms on a hill outside Montgomery, a white-columned fortress glowing against the night, guarded by private security in black vests. Malik knows this is the head of the snake, the senator who greenlit Tasha's hit to protect, his empire pulling Voss's strings. He scales a back wall, dodging cameras, and slips through a servant's door, the house silent but for a TV droning news. Malik Jackson escapes mercenaries, manhunt intensifies. He finds Drake in a study, a silver-haired man in his 60s, sipping scotch behind a mahogany desk. Malik kicks the door shut, knife flashing, and Drake freezes, glass trembling. "You're done," Malik growls, shoving the burner in his face recording. "Talk or I carve you," Drake stammers, sweat beading. Okay, I ordered Voss to silence your wife. She saw Bryce's drugs, threatened my network, millions in guns, dope, cash. I couldn't let her talk." Malik's blood roars, Tasha's defiance etched in every word. He uploads the confession from Drake's own Wi-Fi, crashing servers nationwide as it spreads. Did he just topple the kingpin? By dawn, the video's a tsunami. Senator Drake confesses, blasting across screens. Malik watches from a truck. Stop TV 50 miles away anchors reeling. Leland Drake arrested in Montgomery, tied to Redstone corruption and murder. Protesters swarm the Capitol. Tasha's name a thunderclap. Drake's mugshot plastered everywhere. Malik's arm throbs, but his chest swells. He's struck gold, ripped the mask off the puppet master. Voss's empire's crumbling. Drake's. Cuffs a victory, Tasha cheer. He imagines her voice steady and warm. "You got him, baby." The feds raid Drake's properties, news buzzing with seized guns and cash. Redstone's chaos traced to Montgomery's throne. Malik's winning, the war tilting his way. He's ended Drake, turned surrender's ashes into fire. Then dusk falls, and a blast rocks the horizon, smoke billowing from Redstone's north end. His stomach drops, dread clawing up. Another bombing. He sprints to a diner, the TV flickering to life with horror. Channel 6 cuts in, live from Redstone's water plant, a sprawling facility pumping life to 50,000 souls. Flames lick steel towers, pipes ruptured, water gushing black with poison. The anchor's voice shakes. Catastrophic explosion at Redstone water plant, thousands at risk from contaminated supply. Sheriff Harlan Voss, released on a technicality, blames fugitive Malik Jackson. Malik's knees buckle, the knife slipping from his hand. Poisoned water, thousands. He sees kids clutching throats, families collapsing, all pinned on him. Voss steps up, free somehow, his grin a razor's edge. Jackson's a terrorist, plain and simple. First the church, now this. Forged texts prove it. The screen flashes messages, allegedly from Malik. "Water's next. Watch 'em choke." Malik's breath catches, a lie so bold it's monstrous. But the town's primed, swallowing it whole. News cuts to streets, folks vomiting, medics scrambling. East side hardest hit where pipes run oldest. How did Voss pull this off? Redstone reels, sirens wailing as hospitals overflow, kids Jaden's age gasping on stretchers. Malik's victory turns to ash, Drake's arrest overshadowed by a disaster dwarfing the church. The diner's patrons curse him. "That bastard poisoned us." A woman shrieks, hurling a mug at the screen. Malik staggers out, the air thick with smoke and hate. Voss's voice loops on the radio. "We'll hunt him down. End this nightmare." Forged texts. Malik's never touched a keyboard since escaping, but they're slick, time-stamped to match the blast. He finds a payphone, calls Keisha's burner, her voice frantic. "Malik, water's bad, Jaden's sick, we're hiding." His gut twists, Jaden coughing in the background, Keisha's panic a blade in his chest. The racism's a tidal wave, Voss free on some legal trick, turning Malik's strike into mass murder. Drake's down, but Voss doubled back, harder, uglier, poisoning a town to bury him. What's left when your win kills thousands? Malik slinks into a culvert, the water plant's smoke stinging his eyes, Jaden's cough echoing in his skull. He'd escaped the warehouse, carved truth from Drake's throat, thought he'd won the war. But Voss didn't blink. He unleashed. Hell turned Redstone's lifeblood toxic, and pinned it on Malik with a lie no one questions. The town's dying, Keisha's running, and Malik's a plague in their eyes, not a widower fighting for his wife. He grips the knife, blood crusting his arm, mind racing. Voss is out, free to twist the knife deeper, and Drake's arrest means nothing if Redstone chokes on this. Malik's a soldier, trained to take ground, but this battlefield's a slaughterhouse. Every step costing lives he swore to protect. How do you fight when your enemy poisons the air you breathe? Malik Jackson crouches in the culvert's dank shadow, the acrid sting of Redstone's poisoned water plant, smoke burning his lungs as night cloaks the pines. 11 days since Tasha's murder and yesterday's victory, Senator Leland Drake's arrest after his confession lies in ruins. Sheriff Harlan Voss, freed on a technicality, bombed the water supply, killing thousands with contaminated pipes, pinning it on Malik with forged texts. Keisha's call haunts him. Jaden coughing, her voice cracking. We're hiding. The town's dying, East Side hardest hit, and Malik's a pariah, branded a terrorist. He needs an army, not just a knife and a burner. He slips through back roads, mud caking his boots to a derelict barn 20 miles out, a spot he trained Green Beret recruits years ago. 3 ex-soldiers wait, men he shaped into killers. Rico, a wiry Puerto Rican with a sniper's eye. Darnell, a hulking black vet with fists like hammers, and Lee, a lean Korean sharpshooter. Heard you took down Drake, Rico says, tossing Malik a rifle. Now what? Malik's voice is steel. Voss's last drug lab. We hit it. End this. Can they turn the tide against a town choking on hate? They pile into a beat-up van. Rico driving. The barn fading as they head for Voss's final stronghold. A sprawling lab in Redstone's industrial sprawl. Intel pieced from Raven's files and Cobb's confession. Malik briefs them, voice low. Labs fund his war. We blow it, flood the web with proof, force the feds back in. Darnell cracks his knuckles. They'll call us terrorists too. Malik nods. Maybe, but we're taking him with us. They roll up at midnight. The lab a concrete fortress ringed by chain link and floodlights, 10 guards pacing with shotguns. Malik's team moves like ghosts, cutting wire, slipping past beams. He plants C4 from Rico's stash under fuel tanks. Darnell rigs the main building. Lee snipes 2 guards silent from a rooftop. Explosions rip the night, fireballs clawing skyward, 30 million in drugs melting into ash. Malik films it, the hero. Plays a beacon, uploading from a stolen hotspot as sirens wail. Voss's empire burns, he captions, hitting every newsfeed. Did he just strike the killing blow? By dawn, Redstone's ablaze with more than fire. The video's viral, Voss's drug den destroyed, trending, feds swarming the wreckage, anchors reeling. Massive explosion linked to Sheriff Harlan Voss's criminal network. Malik watches from a ridge, the governor declaring an emergency, National Guard rolling in. Protesters, quiet since the water plant, stir again, Tasha's name flickering on signs. Malik's chest swells. He's cracked Voss's spine, turned his soldiers into a spear. Evidence floods the web, lab photos syncing with Drake's confession. Cobb's words a noose tightening. Voss's empire teeters, the feds circling, justice clawing back. He imagines Tasha's nod, her clinic smock crisp, proud he's fighting. Smarter now. Rico slaps his shoulder. We did it, man. He's done. Malik believes it, feels unstoppable, a soldier reclaiming ground. Then dusk falls and the sky hums, a low drone growing louder. His gut twists. This isn't over. Drones swarm the east side, black specks against a blood-orange sunset, dropping payloads that bloom into fire. Explosions rock the district, homes shattering, screams piercing the air. Malik sprints downhill, the ridge shaking, binoculars up. The black neighborhood burns. Streets Tasha walked, kids he coached, all ablaze. News cuts in on a bystander's radio. Drone strikes devastate Redstone's east side, dozens dead. Sheriff Voss claims Malik Jackson ordered the attack, backed by forged transmissions. Malik's knees buckle, the rifle slipping, dozens. He sees flames swallow a playground, swings melting, kids' shoes scattered in ash. Voss steps up, his grin a jagged scar. Jackson's gone global, hired mercenaries to finish us. These texts prove it. The screen flashes. Burn the east side. No mercy. Malik's breath catches. A lie so vast it's apocalyptic, but Redstone's primed, swallowing it whole. How did Voss escalate this far? The town reels, choppers buzzing as medics haul bodies. East side a graveyard of splintered homes. Malik's victory turns to dust. The lab hit drowned by a massacre dwarfing the church, the water plant. Darnell grabs his arm. We didn't sign up for this. Malik's voice cracks. It's Voss, not us. But the team's eyes shift, doubt creeping in. News flashes names, 20 dead, kids among them, all black, all east side. Malik's burner pings, Keisha's voice faint. Car. Blew up, Jaden's hurt bad, I'm alive. His stomach lurches, Jaden's cough now a scream in his mind. He sprints to the safe house 10 miles through chaos, finding it a crater. Keisha dragging Jaden from wreckage, his leg mangled, her face bloodied. "They knew," she sobs. "Drones hit us too." Malik's knees hit dirt, cradling them, despair clawing his chest. The racism's a guillotine, Voss striking black lives to bury him, turning soldiers into scapegoats. Did he rally them to doom? Voss's voice loops on the radio. "Jackson's cartel allies struck tonight. We'll end this terror." Cartel? Malik's team scatters, Rico muttering, "We're out," as choppers close in. News shifts. Voss hires Mexican hit squad to hunt Jackson's crew, emergency powers granted. Malik's alone, Keisha trembling, Jaden's whimpers fading. The lab's ashes mean nothing now, the feds raid a footnote. Voss didn't flinch. He unleashed drones, burned dozens, and pinned it on Malik with a lie so bold it's untouchable. Protesters vanish, the governor's voice shaky. All resources to stop this madman. Malik's a plague now, not a widower. His soldiers fleeing, his sister broken. He'd rallied them, struck Voss's heart, thought he'd won the war. But Voss countered with a holocaust, turned Redstone's black soul into a pyre, and hired killers to finish him. What's left when your fight buries your own? Malik Jackson kneels in the wreckage of the safe house, Keisha's bloodied arm limp across his lap, Jaden's whimpers fading as his mangled leg bleeds onto the dirt. 12 days since Tasha's murder and yesterday's desperate rally, the lab's destruction lies in ashes after Sheriff Harlan Voss unleashed drones on the east side, killing dozens, framing Malik with forged orders. The cartel hit squad Voss hired hunts his scattered team, Redstone's black heart a smouldering ruin. Malik's alone, his soldiers gone, the town choking on poison and hate. He binds Jaden's leg with a torn shirt, Keisha's pulse weak under his fingers. "Stay with me," he whispers, but her eyes flutter, glazing over. He can't run, can't hide. Voss's lies have won. Painting him a terrorist, no one questions. One play left, the precinct, Voss's fortress, where he'll end. This or die trying, he carries them to a ditch, hiding them under brush, then treks 10 miles through smoke-choked streets, the rifle from Rico's stash slung over his shoulder. The precinct looms, a brick bunker bristling with deputies, floodlights glaring. Can he break it alone? Malik slips past patrols, a ghost in the chaos, scaling a back wall with a grappling hook he'd scavenged from the lab raid. The precinct's alive, radios crackling, deputies barking orders. "Cartel's closing in, find Jackson." He plants C4 from the barn under fuel trucks, wiring timers with steady hands, then breaches a side door, neutralizing a guard with a silent throat jab. Inside it's a maze of concrete and steel, Voss's voice echoing from the bullpen. "He's finished, boys." Malik moves fast, rigging cameras with hacked feeds from Raven's burner, still functional despite the blood. Crusting it. He finds Voss in his office, a glass-walled perch overlooking the chaos, the sheriff pacing, revolver gleaming on his desk. Malik kicks the door in, rifle up, and Voss spins, grin faltering. "You're done," Malik growls, forcing him to a chair, zip-tying his wrists. He flips the camera live, streaming to every news feed. "Confess, or I blow this place sky high." Voss sneers, but Malik jams the barrel to his temple, and the words spill. "Yeah, I killed her," Voss spits, voice raw. "Tasha saw Bryce's pills, threatened my cut. Drake ordered it, I pulled it off. Church, water, drones, all me, pinning it on you." Malik's chest tightens, Tasha's truth ringing out. Did he just win the war? The stream explodes online. Voss confesses live, crashing servers. Redstone's airwaves ablaze. Malik triggers the C4, blasts rocking the precinct, fuel trucks erupting in fireballs that light the night. Feds swarm, sirens wailing, agents breaching as deputies scatter. Malik walks out, hands up, rifle down, the confession looping globally. "I killed her, all me." News choppers buzz, anchors stammering. Sheriff Voss admits to murder, bombings live on air. Malik's knees tremble, relief flooding him. He's ended it, exposed Voss to the world, cleared Tasha's name. Feds cuff him, gentle this time. An agent muttering, "Good work, Jackson." Crowds gather, stunned, Tasha's face on screens. her clinic smile cutting through the lies. He imagines her voice, soft and fierce. "You did it, baby." Justice feels real, a weight lifting. Keisha and Jaden safe soon. He's won, broken Voss's empire, turned Redstone's hate to truth. Then a sniper's round cracks the air, grazing his skull, blood hot down his neck. He staggers, vision blurring, as Voss slips free in the chaos, cartel vans screeching up. How did it flip again? Voss bolts unshackled, a deputy cutting his ties as mercenaries swarm, AKs blazing. Malik dives behind a cruiser, the bullets sting pulsing, feds returning fire, but outgunned. News shifts fast. Sheriff Voss escapes. During precinct assault, aided by unknown forces. Malik's stomach drops, the confession's triumph unraveling. Cartel hitmen, Voss's last card, shred the scene, agents dropping, choppers circling helpless. Malik crawls, blood dripping, the precinct a war zone, flames licking walls he'd blown. Channel 6 cuts in, Voss's voice smug. Jackson faked. That confession staged this attack. He's a terrorist, always was. Malik's breath catches, a lie so bold it's obscene, but the feds falter, radios buzzing. Hold fire, verify. Crowds turn, shouts shifting. He tricked us. Kill him. Malik's victory crumbles. Voss free, the confession twisted into his guilt. The racism's a tidal wave, drowning truth in chaos. Redstone primed to believe a black man's the devil. Did he just hand Voss the win? Malik staggers to an alley, head pounding. The sniper's graze a fire in his skull. Feds regroup, but cartel guns pin them, Voss vanishing into a van's dust. News loops the fake confession, anchors hedging. Questions arise over authenticity. To Voss's statement. Malik's burner pings, Keisha's voice faint. They're hunting us, Malik. Jaden's bad. His gut twists. Jaden's leg. Keisha's wound, now this. The precinct burns. His strike a pyre for nothing. Voss out, cartel unleashed. He'd stormed in, forced the truth, thought he'd ended it, hands up in triumph. But Voss didn't break. He doubled down, turned Malik's stand into a trap, mercenaries his ace. Redstone's manhunt reignites worse than ever, choppers sweeping, streets ablaze with hate. Malik's alone, bleeding, the confession a ghost no one trusts. What's left when your final stand fuels their fire? Malik Jackson slumps in a storm drain on Redstone's edge, blood trickling from the sniper's graze on his skull, the stench of sewage mixing with the smoke still rising from the precinct he torched last night. 13 days since Tasha's murder and his final stand, forcing Sheriff Harlan Voss's live confession lies in ruins. Voss escaped with cartel help, the confession twisted into a fake, Redstone's manhunt, now a fevered beast hunting him as a terrorist. Keisha's last. Call echoes, her voice faint. They're hunting us, Jaden's bad. His head throbs. Vision swimming, the rifle lost, knife his only weapon against a town choking on poisoned water, drone-ravaged streets, and a lie that's buried him deeper than ever. He's ready to die fighting, to take as many with him as he can when a shadow shifts above the grate. Malik, a voice whispers, hoarse but alive. Keisha drops into the drain, her face bruised, shoulder bandaged, a laptop clutched under her arm. You're alive, he rasps, pulling her close, her warmth a jolt against despair. Jaden's slung on her back, legs splinted, eyes half open but breathing. How did she survive the cartel's hunt? She steadies him, laptop glowing as she boots it up, fingers trembling but sure. I faked it, she says, voice low. The car bomb, Jaden's scream. I staged it with a nurse's help. Knew Voss had come for us after the precinct. Hid in. A clinic basement. Hacked Drake's network. Malik blinks, confusion cutting through the pain. Faked it? She nods, pulling files, emails, bank records, video logs. Found them all, she says, pointing to a name, Agent Paul Grayson, FBI, Voss's inside man. He buried your surrender, fed Voss the audio, the texts, covered Drake's tracks till you broke him. Malik's gut twists, Grayson's face flashing from the precinct chaos, the good work lie. Keisha's eyes burn. I leaked it all, synced it with your confession. Grayson's arrested, feds swarming Voss now. Malik stares, the laptop's light flickering on her proof. Grayson's voice ordering the water plant hit, drone strikes, all to frame him. Did Keisha just flip the war? By dawn, Redstone's airwaves crackle, the leak a tsunami drowning Voss's lies. Malik huddles with Keisha and Jaden in the drain, the laptop streaming news. FBI mole Paul Grayson arrested, confesses to aiding Sheriff Voss in Redstone terror campaign. Anchors reel, footage rolling. Grayson's cuffs, Voss cornered in. A shootout on Highway 6. Cartel vans abandoned as feds close in. Malik's confession replays, synced with Grayson's undeniable now. I killed her. All me. Voss's voice. Then Grayson's. Frame Jackson. Keep Drake clean. Protesters flood the square. Tasha's name a thunderclap, signs blazing. Justice won! Malik's chest tightens, relief warring with exhaustion. Keisha's hands shake, Jaden's breath steadying as medics find them, guided by her signal. Voss's last stand ends in gunfire, his body crumpling on asphalt, screaming, "You'll pay," as bullets shred him. Malik watches, silent, the sniper's sting fading. Did he win through Keisha's gamble? Redstone shifts, the smoke clearing. As feds haul Grayson, news looping the truth. Tasha's murder, the church, the water, the drones, all Voss and Drake, pinned on Malik to silence him. Malik sits in a clinic bed, Jaden beside him, leg braced, Keisha stitched, but alive. The town mourns Eastside's ashes a scar, but Voss's empire's dust. Drake's cuffs a federal case. Malik's name clears, the terrorist label peeling away. Tasha's clinic smile on every screen. He slips out at dusk, leaving Keisha and Jaden with nurses, a note in her hand. Justice isn't victory, it's survival. He vanishes into the pines, boots crunching, Redstone's lights fading behind. The fight's done, but peace. That died with Tasha. He imagines her voice, soft but firm. You survived, baby. He keeps walking, a ghost again, free but hollow. What's left when survival's all you've got? The precinct's ruins smolder, a monument to Malik's stand, but Redstone's healing stumbles forward. Keisha takes Jaden home. Their block a crater, neighbors clutching photos of the dead. News fades, the governor vowing rebuilding, but Eastside's graves whisper loss no justice fills. Malik's 13-day war broke the machine, exposed the racism that choked his town, cost dozens of lives to bury Tasha's truth. He'd stormed Voss's lair, thought he'd won with that confession, but Keisha's twist, her faked death and hack, turned defeat into reckoning. Grayson's fall, Voss's death, their victories, but hollow ones, the cost carved in Jaden's limp, Keisha's scars. Malik's gone, a shadow no one chases, Redstone left to pick up pieces he can't. Did he avenge Tasha, or just survive her killers? Malik Jackson's journey reveals the brutal cost of fighting systemic racism when the system itself is the enemy. His story teaches resilience, showing how one man, armed with skill and grit, can challenge a corrupt empire, even when it costs him everything: family, home, peace. Malik's relentless pursuit of justice for Tasha exposes the depths of racial injustice, where lies twist truth and innocence is a luxury for the privileged. It's a stark reminder that racism isn't just personal slurs, it's a machine, grinding down lives with impunity, as seen in the church bombing, water poisoning and drone strikes on Eastside. Yet Keisha's twist, faking her death to unearth the mole, proves ingenuity can turn despair into triumph, even if temporary. The lesson here is dual-edged. Resistance is vital, but it's a war where victories bleed. Malik's survival, not victory, underscores that justice often demands sacrifice beyond measure, leaving scars no court can heal. His exit into the shadows warns that fighting back might clear your name, but not your soul. This tale urges us to question power, to see beyond headlines, and to recognize the strength in those labeled villains by a biased world. It's a call to stand, even when the ground crumbles beneath you. What would you sacrifice to expose? A truth no one wants to hear. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if Malik's fight stirred you, and subscribe for more stories of grit against injustice. Share this if you believe in shining light on dark corners. Thanks for joining this journey. Here's to courage in the face of fire.